Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Winners You podcast. And what a podcast we have for you today. This isn't just a classic N64 game, which is an admittedly small library. It's a classic platformer and very likely a classic all-timer depending on your point of view. Sneaking into the view there. It's a game Alex and I have been waiting for since the Winners You arose from the grave. That's right folks, it's the 1998 rare developed masterpiece that is Banjo-Kazooie. And just for authenticity, your intrepid hosts are coming at you live from location, currently sitting north of the border, dodging polar bears on sledges. Myself, David Smiley, is coming at you live from Fuji Peak, and my partner in crime, Alex, although you've not moaned about the heat yet, you may not be, is coming to us live from Gobi Valley, riding a magic carpet around in temperatures the sun would be jealous of. How are you doing today, Alex? Ready to go? And what a delight it was preparing for this podcast.
Oh, glad to hear you say that. Very glad to hear you say that.
It's just a game that I come back to every years. It is years. Like, I don't know. I've played through the main bulk of it several times now, and each time it's just fun.
Yeah, there's a big dollop of nostalgia in there. Mm-hmm. This is definitely one of like the earliest of my loves in video games. Mm-hmm. Again, getting to an age at the time it came out where I'm sort of approaching my teenage years, being a bit more critical about things.
Oh, okay. So I'm interested to hear about this then. When you said there's a big dollop of nostalgia in there, I'm interested to hear the negatives, which there are. Yeah, actually, I can think of several, but for the most part, I think it's still. I don't know. I reckon a fresh-faced gamer that isn't grizzled, full of PTSD like you and I are, could still have a good time with this.
Yeah, a lot of its strongest points are things like its personality, which will never have the same effect on you 25 years later because you've seen the jokes before. Yeah, you know, you're just so used to what the game's going to throw at you in that regard. But it still just makes me smile especially those earlier levels. I think we talked about this when we started getting further into the game, that like latter levels just really don't hold the same amount of space in our brains for the memory of how the game goes, and we had to probably look things up a little bit more and got a bit stuck towards the end. But the early levels, probably up to like Gobi's Valley, just like such a comfortable place for me to go back and sit in, like the music, the layout of the levels.
What's first? I think up to and including, for the most part, the haunted mansion. And it's maybe beyond that. It starts to get a bit... I don't know. I think it's is it Click Clockwood? I keep getting it mixed up. That and the swamp level has got bits and pieces in it that get on my nerves. I don't know. We're going to get to, I guess. But
definitely.
Is it a hot take to say, because it's certainly my opinion, I think this is in 2023... Maybe not back in 1998, but certainly in 2023, this is a better video game than Mario 64.
I think it is.
I think so.
At the time, we're going to get into this later, but at the time, it was definitely a mixed opinion that it was. I think there's a lot of publications around that were sort of very keen to suggest that no, it is not as good. Or it certainly wasn't as memorable or groundbreaking as Mario was, because how could it be? I mean, the console's controller was designed around Mario, and Mario is obviously a lot more of an athletic game that is definitely harder. I think, it's not a criticism, so to speak, but and I'm going to elaborate on this a bit later on. The difficulty of the game is not at all there for 95% of it. It's a lot of it is very straightforward, just kind of exploring a little bit, which again, back in the day when these graphics are mind-blowing and you've got all this time to go through it, this was one of the earliest sort of 3D collectathons in the 3D platform space, where there was less focused around like I say, athletic skill-based platforming, and more around doing little tasks, collecting things, finding everything. And maybe because that genre has soured in the minds of people, certainly with the ukulele coming out and just being so heavily focused on collecting things. Open world games fatigue as well, like Assassin's Creed and all that shit.
That's an interesting thought. I'm trying to think, because I was like, why have these games gone away? Because there is a place for them. I wonder, it may be just scope. And I think like you're talking about, they become collectathons, like Donkey Kong did it on the N64. I don't know if you did, dabbled with Banjo-Tooie before this podcast. That even is quite grotesque in its collectathons. I wonder if they're just sort of...
I've never finished it for that reason.
Their interest in expanding scope is to just give you more of it.
It is.
And I don't know, like, I'm not sure these games need to have their scope expanded, because I'm trying to think of like the modern day sort of platform and what that looks. And I think, to me, the best ones are probably going back to the 2D era, like the Rayman games, or what's it, Celeste is probably another one. But none of these are like big meaty experiences. They're sort of shortish, sharp, do something really well, get in and get out. And I think Banjo probably does that for the most part.
Yeah. I can't remember what my time was in the end. Probably under 10 hours, I think, to complete everything. I'm reading reviews that we're going to go into later. Like they were talking about how the game's like 30 hours long and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, bloody hell, how slow were you? But I guess, again, they could look things up, and they haven't played it as many times as I have. So yeah, some of the magic will disappear if you've played it as many times as I have. I've often been like, I could speed this game if I really tried hard enough.
I don't know why, but it sort of stuck with me. You and I were having a conversation after the Xbox showcase, and you had mentioned that you found the Fable trailer humor quite grating. And I've kind of like been not just sitting thinking about it hard since then, but just sort of on and off. It's just been coming into my head and thinking about how difficult humor is in video games. And I suppose it's maybe just the age range sort of thing, but I for the first time was finding some of the dialogue quite irritating. And I remember years gone by, I'd probably have found it quite quirky, and clever's not quite the word, but engaging. And this time I was just like, oh no, I cannot be bothered with this anymore.
Yeah, again, I think Ukulele's got a lot of things to answer for, because for one, it definitely made the noises of the characters that when they talk become an annoying thing, when I didn't think it was back then.
Yeah.
In Banjo-Kazooie, I've always thought it was really funny, and throughout growing up, you'd always go around to your mates, be like, go, when you're trying to pretend to be Banjo or whatever. And yeah, the jokes are of a time. They're kind of like low level, child friendly 90s gags.
That's kind of what had me wondering, because this is everything you've said there. I think up until this playthrough, I would have been 100% in agreement with you, and that they are fun and funny, and yeah, this time for some reason I was just like, I'm just not I'm not feeling this. But I guess Rare weren't by the end either, right?
No, that's why Conker turned into this foul-mouthed 18 rated thing.
And I'm just also thinking, I mean, this is slightly off topic, but within the ballpark as well. I remember at the time when Portal came out, is it Portal 2? Yeah. Steve Merchant was the voice of that wee ball thing. I keep thinking of it as Vital Spark, but that's Halo.
Wheatley, was it?
Wheatley, yeah, I think that's right. I remember at the time people talking about how good the comedy was in that game, and when you and I went back to play it for a podcast, I found him annoying. And I wonder if
you soured on it quite a lot. I still thought it was great. But
I wonder if my I don't know, my patience or tastes, or maybe just rerunning. I don't often watch things multiple times, so maybe I'd kind of had my... Yeah, I don't know. I need to think on this a bit more. But I just thought it was an interesting experience that I wasn't expecting.
Humor is a very weird thing. Peppa Pig made me laugh while I was watching it with Cassie the other day, so I really had to ask myself some questions about what's going on in my life.
I can tell you nothing about kids' TV, but Disney's always been very good at mixing in adult jokes with the kids bit, because they're obviously aware parents are going to be watching. There was one Joel, one of my friends Joel, when his oldest kid was little, he was watching Peppa Pig, and there's like a scene, I need to look it up again, but there's a scene he was really entertained by where Peppa Pig found like Mr. Fox in around the chicken coop.
Right.
And he was just like, he just looked like he'd been caught doing something wrong, but in the story he was just out for a walk. But obviously the insinuation was that he was out scurrying about trying to munch on chickens to any of the adults.
There's some subtle. I've seen one with a fox, like his son, hanging out with everybody, and there's like subtle hints that the fox is probably going to try and eat someone at some point.
The other one, I don't know why I'm just listing Peppa Pig now.
I'll tell you the one that made me laugh in a minute.
Yeah, okay. Peppa Pig's taking her fish to the vet, and someone on the bus goes, "Oh, can she talk?" And she's like, "No, animals can't talk. She's silly. And she's a pig."
Nice. That is weird. I did see one where they go to a vet and they're like, "What's a vet?" And the vet's like, "Oh yeah, I take care of pets for people." I was like, I wondered if he was going to say I take care of animals, and then they'd be like, "Well, you're a doctor then, aren't you?" But yeah, so in this one, Peppa Pig, her dad's whistling and she can't whistle, so she's trying to whistle. So she goes and speaks to her mum. It's like, "I can't whistle," and her mum's like, "Yeah, me neither. What is it?" And then Peppa tells her, and her mum immediately does it. She's like, "Oh, right, okay." Yeah. Then her little brother can do it, and then she goes like, then she calls her friend and it's like, "Oh, everyone can whistle except me." And her mate's like, "Well, what's whistling? I don't know what that is." So Peppa tells her, and then her friend whistles, like they're on the phone. Her friend just goes, like accidentally whistles and goes, "Oh, I guess I can whistle." And then Peppa just hangs up on her. Yeah. And I thought that was really good. She just was like, "Beep." I thought that's what an adult would do. That's great. Yeah. And I laughed and said to Cassie, "That was funny, wasn't it?" And she didn't laugh at any of it. Oh well. So you never know. I do think, although the humor, it's not going to land in our mid to late 30s, 25 years later. Definitely gave the game more character than Mario 64. Yeah, true. I mean, yeah. I guess it's never been hilarious, right? Most of it is just Kazooie calling somebody something breath.
Beak breath.
Like,
yeah.
All right, bottle breath or dick breath or whatever it is she calls them. So, but it gave the game so much more character than Mario 64. Mm-hmm. Mario 64 was very, a very linear, mechanical transition from 2D to 3D. Here's the 2D levels. We're going to chuck them in 3D.
There was something quite magical about jumping into the painting. So I think that felt next level.
Yeah, it was very light on dialogue. It was very light on story, as all Mario games were. Whereas, Rare were coming at this. Well, they came at it from a standpoint of wanting to make an RPG, which I'm sure everybody listening to this is going to know. The game was originally called Project Dream. It was going to feature a boy called Edison and his dog called Dinger. It was going to be like isometric, top-down Zelda clone on the SNES because they all loved Zelda.
Weird.
Then the scope became too big for the SNES, so they moved it to the N64. And they were obsessed with beating Mario 64 when they changed it into this platformer. So, like, maybe it was in development for like 16 months, so maybe they had quite a lot of the story beats already there. And so they decided they wanted to just keep like it to be more of a narrative focus in it. I'm not entirely sure. It is funny actually because the guy from Dream, the boy that they took out and then replaced with Banjo, was supposed to be like a little adventurer guy who fights pirates, and the pirates were led by a guy called, hang on, I'll tell you. Captain Black Eye, who is the pirate in those paintings when you were playing it, and I was like, who the hell's that pirate guy in all the paintings? Yeah. It's the character model from what the prototype Banjo-Kazooie game was.
Oh, great. That's a great little nugget of knowledge.
But 16 months to then can the game is mad. Absolutely mad, chat.
Yeah, it's funny how elongated video game development has become these days.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast just as I was making my dinner today, and they were talking about how funny it was that Nintendo was so apologetic that Ocarina of Time took 3 years to develop. It's like, what the fuck? We heard about Elder Scrolls 6 longer ago than 3 years, and we've seen nothing.
I was watching a video today talking about how Earthbound was this really special game, and
it's not.
And is it Iwata? He basically he came in, he got brought into the development team and just decided to chuck the code out and start again. Essentially, just like that's so rare to happen these days. Maybe Skull and Bones has had that happen a couple of times. Who knows?
Didn't look like it, but it needs to have.
Yeah, I think that's so. I'm at the point now with that game that I'm enjoying more that it's not out than when it comes out.
I just want it to never come out.
Yeah, because I played it at Gamescom, so it's probably the only one of those games that we've played that hasn't come out yet.
Oh, it must be the only one.
The other
Unless
ones,
there's
like
something that got cancelled.
Spider-Man, The Division 2, Battlefield, Sekiro, remember that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fallout 76. Sorry, I'm just listing games now.
Oh, we didn't get to play that. They just showed us a
we
bloody video with Todd Howard in it.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, sorry, I'm derailing pretty badly. Carry on.
But yeah, I mean, for all of it, I think Banjo still plays really, really well. The camera has issues, which I think it probably always did. Again, you've got a development team.
With the dog and the boy, it's not just a like-for-like character
No.
swap.
The dog was an external companion for him. Whereas Kazooie, who I remember reading in a preview, when I was reviewing those N64 magazines for Goomba Stomp a while back, I remember reading that Kazooie was originally called Piccolo, which is weird. And a much worse instrument than the kazoo. But apparently, Greg Mayles, who is, I think he was one of the lead designers on it. Apologies to people listening if that's not exactly what his job was. He again, they were obsessed with Super Mario 64 and wanted to beat that. That he wanted to do a double jump. He keeps saying, I wanted to have a double jump like Mario did. And Mario technically didn't really have a double jump. He could wall jump, or he could jump and then jump higher.
Yeah, had the triple jump, I guess.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a traditional sense double or triple
jump.
Yeah,
not like jumping and then jumping in the air.
More like the Olympic version. Mario went for.
Yeah. Exactly. But Greg wanted it to be doable at any time rather than a specific, off a wall or whatever. Okay. So they then, because Banjo was going to have this backpack on and they knew that they wanted to have this big fat bear who's quite sloth-like, that they needed to have something to help him do all this athletic stuff. So apparently they just said, like, what if he has wings in his backpack? And then someone said, oh, what if legs come out of the backpack and that makes him run faster? And then they decided, well, we need to make that another character in the game. And then everything that Kazooie is developed from there, but purely just because they wanted to have a better double jump than Mario 64.
It's funny you're talking about that, because I remember thinking while I was playing through this time, is like, I rarely, unless I was forced to, ever walked about as Banjo. Like, I was always Kazooie legging, no matter what. I even found.
I did see that. Yeah, I was impressed how quickly you would do that. Like when you smashed the honey, like the beehives, and the bees would come at you, you'd immediately switch to Kazooie to make your escape.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I really like that dynamic of Banjo and Kazooie and learning the moves and getting better. Because again, that's another thing that Mario 64 doesn't have. There's no progression of Mario in any sense other than the hats that you unlock. Mm-hmm. Whereas Banjo and Kazooie, there's like a constant cycle of getting new things to do. They thought more about how they could utilize the bird aspect of Kazooie in every single way you could think of, like eggs and flying and running and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that dynamic, and I still think that in every aspect it handles like really, really solidly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas Mario 64 I can find a bit slidey and a bit off these days, but Banjo I think is still very tight to play.
Yeah, it is for the most part. There's the odd bit that I can't be doing with the flying attacks when you're trying to kill the snowmen. I found quite fiddly.
I tell you what though, I really wish that I could have recorded some of my beak bomb hits, because some of them were like fucking balling. I just thought, like, if you nail a good one from miles away and you've just timed it perfectly, it's great. But yeah, if you don't, it's a nightmare.
I even think it's. I mean, I'm not going to go as far to say as it's really good, but I kind of think the swimming's okay as well for the most part in this.
In fact, you can do a sharp turn by holding down R, and you've got two different types of swim, which Mario 64 did as well. But yeah, I think that's really good.
Mm-hmm. It's quite intuitive. Yeah, I remember playing Mario 64 fairly recently, and it would have been when they brought out that collection.
Yeah, so we both decided at the time, didn't we, that we didn't really rate it anymore.
Yeah, I remember there's the first level that's sort of the sunken ship. I remember doing swimming around there, and I was having a horrible time. Whereas I find it fairly intuitive still to swim about as Banjo and Kazooie.
Yeah. And again, it swaps between the two. If you go slowly, it's Banjo kicking his legs. If you go quickly, it's Kazooie's wings. It's
that's true.
It's at the forefront of everything you do in the game, which I really like. Do you want to, what would you want me to do now? Do you want me to start getting through stuff?
Yeah, we could do that. That sounds good to me.
Unless you've got any more thoughts.
Not right now. They'll probably rear their head at some point.
Let's compartmentalize our thoughts then, shall we?
Actually, I don't know whether you're going to come to it or not. I was trying to think of like bits you didn't like of the game. Do you have that lined up at any point?
Well, I was going to go through the worlds. That's probably going to
let's
pick up what we didn't like. Primarily, the reason you're hearing this podcast, as you've probably read in the description, is because it is 25 years since Banjo-Kazooie released in North America on the 29th of June. 25 years. I remember first playing this at my mate's house, and he'd got it on holiday in France, and he brought it back, and it was like the French version on the back of the box, but you could just change the language at the start. And I was like, when he first told me he got it and he was bringing it back from holiday, I was like, what? You're not going to be able to understand it, you idiot. But yeah, I remember being upset. I'd go around his house and I'd have already had my dinner, and then he'd be like, oh, my mum's calling me for dinner, and I'd just sit up there and play his banjo game for him. It was great.
Yes.
Well, do you have any like old memories, like when you first played it?
I don't even know how I ended up with a copy of the game. Absolutely no idea, to be honest with you. No,
you had an N64, right?
Yeah. I had it because this is a thing I'm trying to think like through my N64 days and like the games that stick out. Track and Field, I played that with friends. Mario, I played that around at friends' houses. GoldenEye, I used to play that with friends. Banjo-Kazooie, I think, was pretty much a solitary experience. I may have even been the one of my friends that was playing it and had it, which was really odd. Yeah,
I think it's mad that I was watching the Rare Replay little documentary things that they have on there. It's mad to think that this was top of the like all platform charts in the UK when it came out. Like,
yeah,
considering how big the PlayStation was compared to the N64, for this to have beaten out things like Tekken 3 and all that.
Yeah, I need to look up the commercial. I remember when the N64 came out, and it was the line or the tagline was like the biggest, most powerful game console in the world, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And in the background, there's a shadow of Banjo-Kazooie, with Kazooie like flying in the background. It was just a shadow. I can't remember. I need to go and find that. Anyway,
you do need to find that. What was I going to say? Yeah, so that we got it in the 17th of July in Europe. Oh yeah, that's another thing I was going to say. When my mate did go on holiday and get that, like, I felt like that was like a really cheeky way to like abuse your parents let you buy something when you're on holiday as a memento of your holiday. You know, I'd come back from somewhere in the UK seaside with some like rock and maybe a fridge magnet and all that kind of shit. Or you'd go to like Italy and be like, oh, my dad let me buy a fucking fake Inter Milan shirt from a market for 10 quid. It goes away and he gets a fucking N64 game. Like, yeah, it's my holiday present. Like, you've abused the system here, and this has changed my life forever. Because remember when we were doing the Donkey Kong stuff, and I said, oh, I've got a GBA version, and it's like a fake version. I got that on holiday because I was using his method. Changed my life forever.
You broke the system.
Yeah. The game's got a 92 on Metacritic. It sold 3 million units, apparently, which is the 10th highest seller on the N64. And as everybody should know, it spawned two actual sequels, Banjo-Tooie and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which I barely ever played, and two spin-offs, Grunty's Revenge, which is on the GBA, and Banjo Pilot, which is
Have you played any of those?
I have Grunty's Revenge.
I've never even seen gameplay of those two games.
Grunty's Revenge was developed, I believe, by THQ, and it was like a top-down adventure game thing. I remember it being not that bad at all, but it probably is. I just remember thinking, this isn't shit at all. This is fine. I quite like this. But if I played it again now, I think I'd have a very different feeling to the one we're talking about.
I might go and find some
Banjo
videos of that after this podcast, because we've had there's an interesting sort of hit rate of sort of handheld Nintendo spin-offs of big console games. Because like we played the Wario game, that was excellent. Then there was a Mario game we played as well. I'm sure that was good. There's something else we've played some Sonic games that ended up in the GBA. Those were good. I think it was in the GBA. And there was something else in my head.
Obviously, all the Castlevania games on there are great.
The Castlevania games, yeah, it's an untapped resource for me. It's the old handheld.
That has a 72 on Metacritic.
So okay, good. That's a good score, right?
Yeah.
What's it called? Grunty's Revenge.
Revenge, yeah. Oh man, Eurogamer thought it was inferior to other GBA platform releases, such as the 2003 re-release of Mario Bros. 3. Fuck, come on. That's one of the all-time greatest games ever made, you dicks. And it's not even a proper GBA game. That's harsh. Come on, Eurogamer. Sort your life out.
Oh, it is weirdly top-down, isn't it? Does
but
change
it's not...
This here's a rat banjo. It looks like it moves fairly fast when you're moving.
Yeah.
Quite slick.
Like for the power of that machine, and it's based off of a machine that's more powerful than it already. I think they actually did a pretty good job. It was developed by Rare. Sorry, it was just published by THQ. My mistake.
And what's the other one? Banjo Pilot.
Yeah, I've never played that. I'd actually quite like to give that a go unless it's dog shit. Got a hyphen in it for some reason. Play similar to Mario Kart. Surely it plays similar to Diddy Kong Racing.
I was not expecting this. Yeah, it does. It looks like a Diddy Kong Racing is slapped on.
That's got a lower Metacritic. That's got 68. It lacked what made Rare's previous games, RC Pro-Am and Diddy Kong Racing, great.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good.
Weird to think that...
I wasn't expecting that. For some reason, I was thinking Pilot Wings in my head, but Banjo-Kazooie.
That would have probably been way better than just a straight-up racer.
Yeah.
There's no game... Videogamer.com said there was no reason to have it when better games like Mario Kart and Konami Crazy Racers. I need to try that. I bet it sucks anyway. Yeah, right, what else have we got? One little thing, the stop and swap stuff.
Yes.
Which is where you find those weird eggs. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that now works in the Rare Replay Xbox 360 re-releases.
So does that unlock stuff for like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts? Is that what that does?
Just between Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie.
Right, okay. So do you know what it gives me?
No, I can't remember.
Because I thought
I was absolutely nothing.
I was playing it thinking, oh, is this something they've added for Rare Replay that was to do with Nuts and Bolts? For some reason, I just went to that because I think it's because it said stop and swap, which sounded like some sort of mechanical shop. I think is how my brain went there.
That is fair.
But yeah, I don't know what they did. I remember seeing that, thinking I needed to look it up, and then didn't.
Yeah. Well, it came about because Rare discovered by accident that if you take out an N64 cartridge while you're playing and put another one in, the RAM from the original cartridge is like stored on the N64, so that you can. They realized you could like transfer content or information from one game to another. So they wanted to have it where you could effectively like swap items between Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, literally by taking the cart out and putting it in the other one.
So you're just passing like eggs and feathers and stuff like that. Is that what you're?
Well, some of the areas like you get in them, don't you? And they've got like that weird floating egg with the question mark on it. And I genuinely can't remember what they actually do because it never worked on the original ones because they didn't tell Nintendo until after they'd like basically finished developing the game, because they started development on Banjo-Tooie in June 1998, which is when this game released. So they straight into the next one. Well, you can in the end credits of this game as well, don't they? They start talking about, oh, this is in Banjo-Tooie, it's way better, and like Mumbo's going on about it.
Oh yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah.
And he holds up that sort of picture, and it's got them playing those bits in it. If you've got all the jigsaws and notes. But when they told Nintendo this is what they were going to do, Nintendo was like, you can't guarantee that's going to work on every N64. you can't do that, and they had to scrap it, even though it's in both the games. But Nintendo were like, "What the fuck are you playing at?" And I think there was also concern that people are going to break the cartridges by quickly like whipping them out and smashing another one into the console.
Something a kid would do. Yeah.
So yeah, like groundbreaking, weird, techie nerd stuff they figured out how to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Was just ideas above the station there that they just were not allowed. I have some interesting stuff to tell you.
Okay.
From the reviews at the time. Now, I have basically every issue of Nintendo 64, like N64 magazine and the official Nintendo magazine from this era.
That's cool.
What's weird is that the official Nintendo magazine style at the time was very much like not reviewing it really at all. They just tell you loads of stuff about the game. I guess because that was the era of the time where you don't have access to YouTube, where you can just watch gameplay footage. All the medium that we had was, here's some screenshots of it. So magazines at the time tended to just like absolutely jizz screenshots all over a review and tell you about different areas, and here's some jigsaws you'll be getting, and here's where the notes, and here's what this is, and here's what that is. Like N64 magazine still had a good page of like actual prose where a guy had written his thoughts in an entertaining way, but the official Nintendo magazine, as far as an actual review goes, has a sentence where it says, you've got to have Banjo-Kazooie in your collection, sell your granny, go without sweets for a year, anything. Without doubt, this is an N64 masterpiece. Play it now and experience Banjo-Kazooie, the game of the year. That's it. Everything else is just...
See, now through like an adult lens, I'm quite into that idea, because if it's the official Nintendo magazine,
yeah,
I think actually them just telling you about the game is probably more useful to me as a consumer than them, because they're obviously not. They're not going to tell me it's rubbish, are they? Or did they get licensed to do that?
Well, it was always they actually had a statement in it somewhere at the beginning of every one of those issues, like we are official, but we're not from Nintendo, so we will be honest if a game's crap. It's so funny how they had to like justify the label to make sure that they're not completely biased and basically a propaganda magazine for Nintendo. But yeah, they gave it 96%, and conversely, N64 magazine, the Reed of Kings, that gave it 92%, which suggests that they absolutely love it and they think it's amazing. But the review is really critical for a lot of it. Like, yeah, I'll read you some choice bits. One of the funniest things that they put in this review is that they absolutely hate like rare characters, which I find really funny. So they said they're talking about how like Banjo and Kazooie, you have to see them as one character, and then everything, you understand how the game works better that way and how clever it is. And then they said, and while Diddy Kong Racing was cursed with some of the least likable Muppets to ever grace a console game, Banjo-Kazooie is stuffed full of genuinely appealing bit players and central characters. Rare's insistence on following this... Yeah? Rare's insistence on following the same formula of name followed by the and then the type of animal/thing that the character is, preferably rhyming or alliterating the two, is still supremely annoying. But the character design itself is pretty good, and by and large. They talk about enjoying Logo the toilet. They said there are some moments of cloying cuteness, and we're not sure that just sticking a pair of eyes on any inanimate object that you fancy qualifies as a characterization. But there's certainly nothing as questionable as, say, Pipsy the mouse. Nothing that forces you to consider stopping your game anyway. Which is pretty funny to think that they just absolutely hate everybody in Diddy Kong Racing.
There's a bit that I was actually thinking about talking about these characterizations. I just want to air this because it kept jumping into my head. So every time you quit the game to main menu, it would show you that game over screen. And
fucking annoying, right?
Very annoying. What's Banjo's Tootsie? Tootie, his sister. So like she goes through that machine, and then Grunty comes out like an absolute like witch babe who's meant to be really hot. And
she's bodacious, right?
Yeah, Mumbo comes in and tries to take her back to his hut and stuff like that. So are they suggesting that Tootie is that attractive, and like the attractiveness is transferring into Grunty, Or was Grunty that hot when she was younger?
We really have to hope it's the latter.
Yeah.
Because Tootie is a little girl.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I was like, is this like straying into Ian Watkins' Lost Prophets level? Because it was making me feel slightly uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, maybe she was just that good looking. But then whenever you speak to Gruntilda, she keeps talking about how disgusting Grunty's always been and talking about her pants and things like that. So I just thought it was safer not to think about it, but I couldn't help it. Every time I saw that game over screen, it just popped into my head. There's something odd here happening. What
I'm
essence
not quite sure
is
why
being
she becomes
stolen?
so busty.
Yeah, what essence is being stolen from Tootie is what I want to know.
Yeah.
Is it her youth or is it something else more sinister?
Yeah, because they do talk. I swear there's some dialogue about how Tootie's, attractive or something, or pretty. And
And worse still, I would argue that even after, so when Tootie comes out and she's just like that massive thing, she doesn't look older. She just looks like she's ugly now.
yeah, wow, you've unearthed something there that I didn't give enough
Should have been
thought
left
to.
alone. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That's a can of worms. Jeez Louise. Right. Here's some more interesting stuff, right? Where they're talking about, we mentioned like the difficulty earlier. I was really not surprised, but it made me think about it when I read this. So they said, this is where they said about it's going to take you 30 hours to play and you probably, you're not going to want to finish it or whatever. So they said, it's because it's so much fun that you never really want it to be over. Unfortunately, it's the game's longevity that is probably its biggest problem. There are 3 ways to make a platform game hard. The first of these, any developer with 3 PCs and a portal cabin outside Woking can manage. You simply make the games running and jumping so physically hard to pull off that success takes hours and hours of patient practice and possible destruction of nearby objects, family, pets, or human relationships. For the most part, Banjo-Kazooie avoids this cheap difficulty with only a few jigsaws in Click Clock Wood and Rusty Bucket Bay being truly worthy of any hair tearing. I think we largely agree there. Yeah. Most of it is very easy. The second route to toughness is to hide your game's puzzles and objectives so well that it's quite a while before the gamer knows what to do. Banjo-Kazooie opts for this in the main, and if you're not a patient explorer, then you could be in for a frustrating time. Most puzzles are signposted pretty clearly, maybe too clearly for some. Mm-hmm. It's the final one that remains elusive. With worlds as beautiful as Banjo's, though, most people wander around with eyes like saucers, enjoying the view for as much as looking for that last Jinjo. They seem to be like, that's the one compliment I keep reading in this is that they think it looks beautiful, and it does look way better than Mario 64. I think in like every regard. However, it is 2 years later down the line of the console.
I think there's a good Mario 64 had it as well, so it's not a direct dig, but there's a good sort of spread of environments as well. Like every place, I'd say Click Clock Wood does the seasons thing, but aside from that, it's probably quite similar to the swamp level plus Mumbo's Mountain plus Freezy Peak. But other than that world, everything else is incredibly distinct, I think, that I'm trying to think through in my head.
Yeah, and it does a really good job of like giving the illusion of larger areas that you're in, even though most of them are quite actually sort of smaller and contained.
Yeah.
Whereas Mario 64 is very obviously almost like a box that you're just running around in a very specific part of.
Yeah, that's a great show.
Whereas this, like the levels sometimes feel absolutely massive. Verticality is a big part of that, obviously. But if you think back to like the Fireland in Mario, you can see the other side of it from the minute you step into it. It's just like a square.
Gobi Valley is probably another one that's quite good at that by allowing you to go inside various structures as well. And then inside the structures, they've got a fairly okay size to them too, so it makes the world feel a lot bigger than it maybe is too. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Here's the biggest dig, right? They say, this guy's called James Ashton, by the way, and he says, what crowned Mario king of the platformers, though, was what it asked the players to do. And while Banjo-Kazooie squares up to Mario 64 in just about every other aspect, when it comes to the most important, invention, it's just not quite up there. Of the 100 jigsaws hidden in the game, only about 10 of them set a genuinely innovative challenge, something we'd never seen before. How do you feel about that?
Genuinely innovative?
And again, you're talking about the game that was the genesis and the basis behind the console in Mario 64. and then you've just got another one of the same type, and now you're like, yeah, it's not innovative though, is it?
Try to think like as comparison though. Like I think like I'm trying to think of like the innovative. There's a lot. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think they are quite for 1998.
Mm-hmm.
They are pretty innovative. There's like there's ones like I know some of them are quite annoying, but with is it not Clanker's Cavern, Rusty Bucket Bay, where you are having to switch switches in completely different areas of the map. I think there's also those switches. Is it Rusty Bucket Bay with the giant boat in the middle? In the poison water, yeah. And when you go into it's little things, like there's also that button you can press where you go in and you can see the jiggy behind the glass.
Yeah.
As well, like, and let's face it, it's not like video games are today. That'll be that's probably just a recreation of the area. That won't be the actual area, I would guess. Same like with Click Clock Good when you're using seasons and stuff to like go back and forth.
It's frustrating at times, especially if you just want to get the thing done. But I mean, that is incredibly innovative.
Yeah.
The fact that you're affecting every single part of the level by doing different things in different seasons, and it bases it on what season it is as well.
Yeah, and you can do something in one season.
Spring.
It's not just like 4 small independent areas that they're just changing the palette on. Like if you like break the rock in one area and then go to a different season, you can then interact with that area in a different way that it was before.
Yeah, the little houses getting built, things are growing, things are then dying in winter. Like they thought about every aspect of that setup. They really clearly went to town and thought that was like their masterwork, I reckon.
Totally. And I even think like Freeze Easy Peak's got a lot of variation in what you can do, having to change into different animals to do different challenges.
And then how that works when you go out of the level to get into the hub world, which has its own puzzles in, and also how you have to leave levels to learn moves to then come back and like Metroidvania your way through jiggies in older levels as well. Yeah, they said it says even so, if you've played a reasonable number of platform games, you'll have seen most of what's in Banjo-Kazooie somewhere else before. Not looking as good certainly, but definitely somewhere else. What's the playing field in 1998? Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot. What else have we seen? Like 3D platformers. What else have we seen before here?
Yeah. And we're not saying that Crash Bandicoot even can hold that. Like when it's making you run towards the camera, was a very good idea in my opinion. Not a very good idea in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's unfair. Like, yeah, like Mario 64 had this magical quality to it, and I guess because it came out after Mario 64, it's not going to have perhaps that same magical wow factor that Mario did, but that's like saying, I don't know, I was going to say Battlefield game, but they are worse than the older ones, but like you know what I mean, like bringing it a new like this, like Tears of the Kingdom isn't as impressive as Breath of the Wild.
I have seen people trying to say stuff about that as well. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But it's just the same. It's the same Hyrule again, except it's got sky and underground and crafted. Yeah. Very strange. But yeah, their sign-off line for a game, again, that they gave 92%, says, just as on the SNES, where Rare's Donkey Kong Country looked better than Super Mario World, but couldn't quite match it as a game, Banjo-Kazooie outshines Mario only in terms of its looks. It's still a brilliant, brilliant game, though. Certainly the best of 98 until Zelda comes to town. You need to make the comparisons for yourself. You need this game. Which is... I've never read such a negative 92% in my life.
No. The other thing I want to say, that this sounds like such a little thing, but in terms of quality of life, it was so good, is that unless you were going into a level, if you were moving through doors that were causing like cuts and blackouts and stuff in the overworld, it remembered what you were doing. So if I went into a door with Kazooie doing the run-in, I was still Kazooie when I came out the door, and I didn't have to redo it again. That sounds like such a little thing, but remembering little stuff like that, I think, is massive in terms of quality of life. Also, when you were doing stuff in world, you could unlock things in the overworld and stuff like that. Like that sort of stuff's great. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
I think he's gone mad. He's drank that Mario Kool-Aid and just gone wild.
He really has. Yeah, maybe that's what got him into games journalism. He's got a soft spot in his heart for it or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, that felt needlessly critical of a game you've just given 92% to. It's the best game of the year.
That is, it's one of my favorite things about like old. I was going to say like nascent video game journalism is probably the right word. Is how out of whack a lot of the stuff is. Like that score doesn't sound anything like the review.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit before that I don't think you would see today. It's like, give up anything you can to get this game, whether it even sweets. It's like,
yeah. There you go, children. Here's an idea. It's funny as well that they did it like in such a mechanical way to like break up the scores, which I do kind of miss sometimes. But they gave the visuals 9 and said, stunning. If the camera was slightly better, then it would be a 10. They gave the music, the sounds 10, said superb music, effects and atmosphere, the finest yet on the N64. 8 for mastery. A great game, great but not all new. Mario invented more. Fuck. 8 for lifespan. You'll hate to finish it. 40 to 50 hours, we reckon. But the most replayable platformer. Yeah, you just said it wasn't replayable a minute ago. And then, Mario's still king, but Banjo-Kazooie is worthy company for him. Ace, 92%.
Jeff Gersman speaks about that, has spoken about that a few times over the years. The old GameSpot reviews, they didn't put their own score on it. So what you had to do is you had the box and you had to fill in the boxes and it gave you an average. And that was the score you went with.
Didn't he say he still had like the algorithm somewhere in a spreadsheet for how that worked?
Yeah.
So what is that total then? I guess out of 40, that's what? 19, 27, 35. There's way easier ways to have done that maths. So they've taken 5 off of 40. I don't think that's 92% of 40.
No, they've not nailed that.
No. But yeah.
That's a funny review.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk about the worlds and see if that brings up things that we did and didn't like. And then we will move on to the main event, which is the music tier list.
Yes.
Mumbo's Mountain. Again, like I said, like a warm blanket to just slip into and go, I know where every single jiggy is and every single note is right off the back of my hand. I mean, again, piece of piss, but
I'd also say it sets you up well for the rest of the game in that every jiggy is quite different. So you get the one where you've got to turn yourself into a termite. You've got to shoot into the totem pole. Is that the right thing? You shoot your eggs in there, in their mouths. There's the monkey ape that throws stuff at you. Then obviously the Jinjos is quite different. And then I think that does a good job of sort of setting you up and letting you know how different and giving you a taster for everything that is going to come. Even does the butt switches as well, which
it does. It does like having to use Kazooie to run up the hill, or you'll slide down it.
Do you know what's funny is every time I go away from this game, and it'll happen again whenever I come back to Banjo-Kazooie in years to come, whenever I start up Mumbo's Mountain, for some reason my brain forgets, and then I go in and think that there's a jiggy you can get from that bull at the beginning somehow.
Can you kill it?
Don't think so.
No, I don't think
I
so
never
either.
managed. Enemy always kicked my ass.
And you've tried to fight him every time?
Every single time. And I will do it next time I play Banjo-Kazooie, guaranteed. I will go away and give him a fight.
I can remember, like, every single time the opening bit, you know, when you turn, you press start to get through the intro screen, and then it goes to like the Banjo-Kazooie 1998 rare. I can always just remember Banjo rolling and killing that little termite dude every single time that I see it. It's just bored into my brain.
Did you ever turn into a washing machine? You were talking about that.
Not this time around. I have done before, but I haven't done it I didn't manage to do it on this playthrough because apparently it's just sort of random.
Do it randomly, does he?
Yeah, I think if you maybe spam like the changes just by pressing B over and over again, he may do it then after a while. But yeah, apparently you can just kind of like walk about. Has an attack as well. I think he opens the door.
I didn't realise it was that in depth. I thought you just had to. He just changed you and then they went haha and then changed you back again.
Maybe it's the second game where you can actually be a washing machine then. You could be right, actually.
Well,
I think he does just go, oh, whoops, that's a mistake. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
The other thing I noticed was there's when you complete the Grunty's game show thing, at the end there's like a first, second, and third prize, and one of the prizes is like a busted up washing machine.
Yeah.
But if you look at it closely, it looks like it's maybe just a cauldron, and they've switched the texture out because it's not shaped anything like a washing machine. It looks like a bowl that you would jump into.
Let's just hope that that was a visual gag where it looks as if Grunty's just painted a cauldron white and pretended it's a washing machine.
Yeah.
Rather than the bad, lazy game design. Some of the jiggies in that first level are so fucking ridiculously easy. The easiest one of the lot that I always find so funny is you just grab an orange off a tree and then walk 2 yards and throw it at a monkey. And he's like, cheers, mate. Here's a jigsaw. And again, I don't know what the economy of this world is. For example, number one, why do you need jigsaws to open doors? Like, where do they go when you put them into a puzzle? They just kind of disappear and fly in.
Yeah.
And then why do like random denizens of isolated areas inside Gruntilda's lair?
Yeah, what are they?
Has this monkey been kidnapped?
Are they squatting? What are they? What's going on here?
Yeah. And why can't he just go get the orange? I mean, he stood there, he could see the orange at spitting distance. And then somehow when you give him an orange, he can make a platform rise up by leaving it, which is mad. Yeah. But a fine opening level, I guess. It's, as you said, really like astute point there.
The music's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an earworm for sure.
Yeah.
As is Treasure Trove Cove, which is I think that's one of my favourite levels of the game.
Great. It's a contender for sure. Yeah, it's a good level.
I mean, I don't like the shark. He's a bit of a dickhead, but I like the burping, farting captain when he talks. I like the fact that you learn to fly for the first time.
Yeah, you learn to fly.
So you can fly right up to the top of that lighthouse at the top. This one has a lot of that sort of illusion of being massive because you can go so high up. There's so much swimming involved that slows you down.
I say this one does
boss. We got Nipper the crab.
Where like the first level is a good level for sort of giving you a taste of what's to come. This one really goes into the gamut because you're right. Like each part of that level can feel like vastly different areas. There's I found it fine as an adult, but as a kid, there's some of the platforming over the water I found quite difficult. Even just like the initial journey up, if you don't fly up there, the initial journey up to the lighthouse feels like an absolute trek. That you can fall off and then absolutely screw yourself at different points. And then there's like the other thing that I like is that they hide stuff as well. Like so, when you start the level, there's that. If you sort of look off to your right and behind you, you can see that cave in the distance that you can clearly go inside.
Yeah.
It was the first time you play it, you got no idea how you're going to get there because every time you could just jump in the water and get attacked by that shark. So like as a kid, there were so many times I probably I've got memories and I don't know why because I played this game enough that I would have known I could fly. Trying to just swim there, just try to like jump in, do the double jump thing, jump in and jump out, and I would never make it. So I don't know why I didn't just fly. I'll need to marinate on that. But I just like how they do this game, and even the entrance to the level is quite unique, and they don't really go back to that having to jump into the chest.
Yeah, that's quite a cool touch. And then the like bonus overworld jigsaw gets fired out of a cannon. Yeah, that's cool.
And this is also the first time they start messing about with the sort of, well, they come back to it later in the Ouija board, but sort of writing stuff on the ground.
Yeah,
I just like the variety feels really great.
Yeah, this is also the first level I think where they start to get to play really fast and loose with how eggs function, and that they can apparently patch holes in leaky buckets.
Oh yeah, I actually had to look that up because I couldn't remember.
I think you learned that later because you were farting eggs into everything after that.
Mm-hmm.
Or was that Banjo-Tooie? I saw you farting an egg into.
I started trying to fart eggs into every time I saw a hole in Banjo-Tooie, and then there's a bit every time. There's like a bit in the beginning where there's like a cabbage going about. I kept trying to fart into the cabbage, the hole that the cabbage had come out of, thinking something would happen with that, but no dice.
Clanker's Cavern, right? N64 magazine says they saw this level at Space World 97. It's the first of Banjo's truly amazing worlds. It is, again, a really clever and inventive way to set up a level where you're just the whole focal point is around this big mechanical fish that you're trying
times. And then you go inside the fish, and again, like making it feel like in the same way that the previous level feels like open and expansive and vertical. This is a much more claustrophobic, sort of Moby Dick-like game because you go inside him, and like there's a whole new area, and they turn what is actually quite a small area into something that feels quite intricate and something that you can, and because you can sort of, this is going to sound bad, but because you can enter and exit Clanker in various directions. Like eventually through his teeth.
We've all done it.
There's two different. There's teeth you can go in through his gills. You can go through in his air spout. Like there's so many different ways you can get in. It feels like a more intricate level than it actually is because it's quite a simple thing, actually. But
it is. It's just a big bit of water with a bloke in the middle of it, and then some tunnels around the edge.
And I also like how they tease stuff as well. So like, it probably does it later. Like we'll come to it. And Rusty Bucket Bay is probably a better example of it. So maybe we'll come back to it. But like, they'll tease you with stuff that you know that you've got to interact with, but then they don't tell you, and you've got to sort of go away and work out. So like, obviously the gold tooth. And then there's like other bits. I'll come back to it with this one because I know that what I'm saying is true. I'm just now trying to think of it as examples in this level, and I'm maybe not coming up because in my head the one that I'd come up with was the with the dolphin under the anchor, and I was like,
oh yeah,
the sort of tease stuff that you can see coming, and we'll get to that because Rusty Bucket Bay is actually full of it now that I've started speaking, so I'll stop and we'll come back to that.
I thinking of moves actually, although it can be fiddly at times, I have actually got a real soft spot for the green launch pad jumping thing. There's something really satisfying about that. But I can't
get to use it. Is this the one?
No, it's the level before where you learn that. I think in this one you learn the invincibility feathers because you run through those spinning fans inside of him.
That's right.
Bubble Gloop Swamp. I always struggle to decide whether I like this level or not. I think it's just because of the swamp water that hurts you. I think that's what just fucks me off of it. Everything else. Oh, wait, not just that. But we'll get into him in a minute. What's your Mr. Vile?
Who's he?
The man who you text me saying, "I hate this cunt." The crocodile where you've got to do the race to eat all the.
Oh yeah, he's awful. He's absolutely awful. That guy. You have the cheat button though. Just like follow him and nick his turnip things or whatever you're eating. I think there's a lot of stuff I just can't be bothered with in this game. Like normally, I quite enjoy memory games in video games, but don't like the choir kids for some reason. Just don't like them. And
it's because it's so slow to go around to every one of them
and
do the thing. It's just, and it's the different angle to how you see it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because also talking about how it's so slow is every single time you want to get to Mumbo's hut, you've got to go through that stupid maze.
That's why I think I don't like this level.
Yeah, and there's a couple.
I also don't like those welly boots. Like they're the worst.
I don't like the boots. The hands down the worst power you've got to do.
Slow, and I hate the music. Yeah, well, just like squelchy and horrible.
Yes. The welly boots are the only power that I can think of off the top of my head that you can't cancel out of. You've got to stand.
Even if you press A and B at the same time.
Or does it let you out of them? Because every time with the welly boots, I'd just be standing waiting for the power to run out. After.
Yeah, I think I think I remembered that there was a way to do it, and I was trying to press all these combos, and I think I got it in the end.
Smart man.
But that was in Click Clock Wood, because there's some parts of that where you get the welly boots for ages, and you just don't need it.
Yeah, it's getting out of that sort of spiky vine bits. Again, going to Mumbo's hut.
You just stood there in your wellies like, so, hang on a minute, mate. I'm ready for your work in a moment. Just let these boots just fall away. Why do they disappear? What's that all about?
Don't know.
I do like banjos. Oh, every time they're done though.
But yeah,
nice to see Tips Up as well. Obviously,
yes.
Good character from Diddy Kong Racing. But yeah, Mr. Vile, right?
He's awful. I absolutely hated him. He was giving me such rage because I'm like, I'm not bad at this, but it's just the amount of even the amount of times like you would bite one. What are you eating? What am I? Is it like a tadpole?
Yumblies. Instead of grumblies. Yumblies and grumblies.
Honestly, you would bite one just as the color changed in the third version of that game, and it would just do you.
You'd go and bite it, and then it would change in the middle of your animation, and then Banjo would like choke on it.
Oh, I hated him. I absolutely hated him. And then you just like, I had it sometimes as well. Like, I'd fail the mission or the challenge, and then like your punishment for failing the challenge is he comes up and bites you to take some health off. Sometimes he wouldn't come and bite me, so I'd be like standing there waiting for him.
Come on then,
come and bite me.
Come over and have a chew.
And there's a couple of times I was like, oh, am I meant to move to instigate this animation to happen? So I'd just be running around waiting for him to come and bite me.
You lucky bastard. I thought I'd outsmarted the twat by being like, can't bite me, mate. I've still got the running shoes on. So I ran out the door. Guess what happens if you run out the door?
What happens?
Fucking resets it back to the first one.
No.
I failed on game number 3. And I thought, screw this dickhead biting me. That's not very nice. I'm not going to play your game again. We're not going to be friends and play the game right after you've bitten me, you fucking animal. So I ran out, like, gutted, come back in. He's like, right, we're playing game number 1. And I was like, oh, no. I totally fucked it. I couldn't believe I had to do the whole thing again. Outrageous.
I think this is one of the weaker levels for me. It's just, there's a lot of farting about. Even the other bit, like when you're trying to make it to the area behind, you've got to get in the swampy tunnel. Yeah, like that. The whole thing is just a pain in the ass.
Well, I always found that I got lost, like not lost, but I'd always have to go when you go back to the middle part of the level. I'd always just be like, oh, I'd have to pan the camera around. Like, which direction is that fucking turtle again?
Yeah.
Or which direction is Mumbo's? Yeah.
Yeah, there was something else happened as well. Oh, when you've got to like go up when they use the verticality bit when you're going up and butt stomping houses as well.
I like that bit.
It is, because it's also got your favourite wee jump on it, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, the memory bit in getting to Mumbo's house can just get in the bin, and so can Vile Lad.
Yeah. Another one of the easiest, if you've got the items for it, one of the easiest jigsaws in the game, where you've got to fight those dickhead red frogs. If you've got the gold feathers, just stand still and press turn them on. They'll just run into you and just die. Cheers, lads. See you later. Oh my god, right. N64 magazine, Freeze Easy Peak. It says, well, it had to happen in Ice World. It's Everfrost Peak and Diddy Kong Racing all over again. And as a world, it's disappointingly easy.
Why did they keep... Is it because Banjo's in Diddy Kong Racing that this game keeps coming up? Because they're not alike, those games.
No, I guess it's just a rare game, and it must have been their previous one. Yeah.
Well, just walk around as Kazooie and you don't skid around. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, that almost feels like an oversight.
Yeah.
That they didn't realise that you could just avoid all of the ice stuff just by running around as her.
Yeah.
I genuinely do not think that this level is like too easy though. Like disappointingly easy.
No.
Number one, surely this is everybody's favourite level in the game. Surely. It's just the most Christmas thing. And the music is wonderful. The big snowman's great.
Complete with negligent dad.
Too busy out getting drunk on jiggies, lying in this fucking pile of his own, like a pool of his own shit and piss. They're all at home like, where's our dad and our Christmas presents? And you have to go give them back. Unbelievable. No wonder he's called Boggy. That's where he lives. Yeah. In a bog of despair. I find the races against him, he is a... Oh, is that him? No, sorry, that's somebody else, isn't it?
You do race.
Or is it?
You do race the polar bear lad.
Yeah, so he's a gambler as well, right? He's gambling away all his jigsaw pieces. What a scumbag!
Do you know who I've got a soft spot for? Is that big walrus who just like runs through his life. Every time he sees you coming, he just runs through his life, and then you turn up as another wee walrus, and he's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, mate? You all right?" And then he's
Have
like,
"You seen that horrible bear about?"
Yeah. And then you go into his house, and he's like, "Ah!" I don't know why I just quite like him.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
so
the
good.
normal reaction for having a bear just storming into your house.
Yeah. Yeah, Americans will
Smashing
say that's
stuff
why
up
they
and
all have
leaving.
guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, the races against Boggy, he's a right little fucking shover, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a like it's a real tussle up against him. I found it all the time. Like I'd have to just basically like block him off.
There was one specific part in the races that got me a couple times, and it's like towards the sort of latter third where you've got to basically you go over a house and then take quite a sharp right, and you've got to hit the bridge, and the bridge is thin. A couple times I failed on that.
Yeah, and that's into a water which then hurts you and you're fucked. That's it, game over.
Yeah.
He knocked me into that one time.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. But what I mean,
also, does he not tell you you're too heavy or something? Too big to be on a sledge?
The first one, yeah. Yeah, the first one's because you have to be as the walrus, isn't it? And the next one is you use the running things. Yeah, that's bizarre. Maybe just because that's one of his fucking kids' sledges, isn't it? That's why. Yeah. He's gone out gambling with his kid's sledge again. So little Timmy's at home with nothing to do. No presents, no sledge. I love climbing up the snowman and then sliding down his scarf to land on his gut and smash a jigsaw out of his mouth. That's fucking brilliant.
It's so good. I like the sort of Christmas tree area, because that's just like, it's pretty different from anything you've done before. You've got, it basically turns into a whack-a-mole for a little bit.
It does, when you've got to kill the twinkly munchers, which is sounds again like a bit of a euphemism.
Yeah.
Get your hands off me, you twinkly muncher.
I just think so much of this game is good. Like when they hide, do they hide a jiggy in his pipe? Is that what they do? Or they hide something in his pipe?
Something's in his pipe, yeah. Jinjo? I reckon it's a Jinjo. You probably got a jiggy at the same time.
Yeah, that's maybe it. Yeah, it's just
only
just
thing.
Level.
Only thing that ruins it is the snowmen, I reckon.
I hate the snowmen. Really hate the snowmen.
I hate their laugh. I hate the fear of when you can hear that like, and you can know that the snow. You know their accuracy is incredible. So if they throw it, you are getting hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the most satisfying moment is to hit them with the beak bomb. Just be like, yes, you fucking have some of that.
They annoyed me more in Click Clock Wood though, just because you didn't even know they were there sometimes.
Yeah, it's just like, oh come on, man! I thought we did this, and you don't even get anything for killing them all, which I wasted my time doing.
I wasted so much time going to kill him outside the world. There's the one that appears outside the world. Spent so long, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, because you knew where the jigsaw was, because you'd already hit the thing, and it was already, you saw it in the advent calendar.
It's just one of those things that obviously I just like decided in my head I had to kill him for some reason. Like there was a reason that he had to be dead, and I did it and then realised it was all for naught, and I was like, what a waste of fucking time.
Yeah, and feathers, and I do like how things spill out of the enemies spill out of the level after you've done it.
Yeah,
it's like a nice, neat little touch. Gobi's Valley is another one that I'm not entirely sure if I like or not. This one almost feels too big.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Too many things to go inside and remember where everything is.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you, but I think unlike the swamp level, I plop down on it's alright at the end of the day. Try to think of like the jiggy spread. The jiggies are mostly pretty okay to get. I feel sorry for, is it Gobi, the camel, who you just got to like batter?
Poor guy.
Until he just has enough and leaves and goes to a new home, and then you just turn up and batter him again.
Yeah. Yeah. Just absolutely abused this guy.
Poor lad.
And drain him of all his water that he takes ages to try and find.
But you're right, I'm trying to think, this feels like one of the bigger ones. Certainly more like labyrinthine, like remembering where you've been. Maybe is more difficult.
That's my point there. Yeah,
because Rusty Bucket. No, I keep calling it Rusty. Is it Rusty Bucket Bay? The second one. What's that one called?
Treasure Trove Cove.
Treasure Trove Cove. It probably feels more expansive, but it's more logically laid out. Whereas this one maybe isn't so much.
Totally.
Yeah.
Everything looks the same. It's probably my biggest issue with it.
Yeah.
It's all just yellow everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last level's all white everywhere, I suppose, so maybe I'm chatting shit. I do like when you, speaking of Gobi himself, I do like before you jump on him and get water into that tree, when the tree's like, oh, I'm really thirsty, and Banjo's like, will feathers and eggs help? Can we just chuck that in your mouth? Like, again, can we just shit some eggs in there? Will that do? It's like, no, I need fucking water.
Kind of annoyed me, though, that he's moaning about how thirsty he is, and that's the only part of the level where there's just water everywhere. Like, he's surrounded by water.
Turn over there.
Yeah, just turn around, mate. You've got roots. Stick your toe in.
Yeah. That annoyed me as well later on when you've got that eagle in Click Clock Wood, and he's like, oh, I need caterpillars, and there's one behind him.
Yeah.
Turn around.
Just do something yourself, please.
Yeah, thank God there was more than 10.
Yeah.
Of those.
Yeah.
Mad Monster Mansion, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's one of the best levels in the game.
Yeah,
by
it's
a
really
long
good.
way.
Really, really good. Like, yeah, there's bits even like towards the end when I've just about got all the jiggies that I was just discovering that I hadn't even engaged with. Because usually, like, you run about the level and you sort of earmark things as you're like pursuing little threads to get a jiggy, and then you'll see something, you're like, right, earmark that for later, earmark that for later. Totally forgot there was a whole underground basement area until the end, and it's like,
wine cellar, yeah.
And then I still got the moment where I realised how to get onto the roof as the pumpkin, because I'd forgotten completely how to do that.
Oh, I always kept forgetting where that little ramp was every time.
Yeah. No, that's a cool level, and there's again lots of differences to it. Like there's a toilet, there's a well that you sort of can go in the bucket with.
Yeah.
This is a cool level, and I think I was saying to you, I was considering it the other day. I think this is my favourite Mumbo transformation.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of other ones. The termite's not bad. The walrus is quite good.
I quite like the bee purely because it's just useful.
The bee was good. There's probably a way around this. I couldn't figure out how to go down. So like,
no, me neither.
I'd go up and then I'd be like, oh, I'm too high, and then just sort of have to hover around until I floated down again.
Yep, definitely.
I don't know. There's just something about the movement that I like about being the wee pumpkin lad.
Yeah, I do like his little hop. That is very cool. His little the lid just keeps bouncing with every. Yeah, the animation in this game is top notch. Do you have a
favourite jiggy that's jumping out?
What, from this level or like in the whole game?
Yeah, anything that's we've done so far. That's a difficult question because there's a lot of them are quite. Yeah, I need to think about that because I can't even answer that question.
Yeah, it's definitely not slowly playing the same notes on a piano as a giant ghost hand. There's no challenge in that. At least that wasn't a memory thing. It was just follow him around and just do it after him.
I actually failed that the first time because I was like, he started going, and then he was like, oh, you're too slow. And I was like, oh, I'm meant to follow you.
Oh, so you can't actually ever play it where you just wait for him and then try and remember it like a clever close. You actually have to just...
Sets, yeah.
Oh, right. I think I figured out, actually. You know the ghost that is... that wakes up?
Yeah.
That we were laughing at, who's called Napper. Basically, he's named after being asleep.
Yeah.
Like, that's your one function. It's so much so that that's your name. I think it's if you go on the floor, he hears you.
Ah, right, okay.
That's why you've got to jump across the chairs, because I guess they're cushioned. So that's how you can avoid that, is just don't walk on the floor. That's what
there's
wakes
a
him
bit
up.
When you were watching, I was like poking around, walking on the floor, wondering if there was like a route you could take to get there. But every time you'd step on the floor, where it just creaks. Yeah,
exactly. N64 magazine makes a good point that this has some excellent lighting effects, especially for the windows of the mansion that you can break. It's very nice. And the bits where it's coming through the floor.
If it wasn't for this level, I don't think I would have clicked that you can also break stuff in Rusty Bucket Bay. Like, you know, the burstable portholes.
Yes.
3D. I don't think I would have clicked with that if it wasn't for knowing that you could smash the windows in this. Because then after that, I was sort of alive to looking for it, which I assume is deliberate.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those classic, isn't it? Like show, don't tell, and then let you learn.
Yeah.
From then. I will say there are far too many of the things that come out of a wall that are shaped like a dick in this game. This one has the sort of like monsters from all of the other
so
levels.
they do. Yeah, I forgot
But
about
these
that.
are like skeleton ones, and then of course you've got the birds that do it in Click Clock Wood, and you've got, I think, Rusty Bucket Bay and Clanker's Cavern have the usual green ones.
Mm-hmm.
Far too many of those around this game. That seemed to be the way they made platforming difficult. Is just stick them everywhere.
Yeah.
When you fart those eggs into those plant pots in the graveyard, that's 100% Grant Kirkhope going, "Thank you."
Oh, is it?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it not quite difficult to do, or was it just that it took up a lot of space to put audio on a cartridge? There's a reason that the cart games don't have much audio, and I couldn't remember what it was.
Maybe it is the space. I don't know if the format for music is different. Once they were on CD, they had an easier way of putting it on there compared to this. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
N64 magazine reckons that Rusty Bucket Bay is visually the most impressive of any of the levels. I wouldn't have said that. No, it's very grey.
So. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's not bad looking, but I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's the most impressive. And I'm now trying to think what the most impressive one is. Now you're saying that. Most impressive looking one. I mean, it's probably Click Clock Wood, to be honest.
Yeah, it's purely just for the amount of difference that they put between the seasons, I guess.
Yeah.
It's got quite a lot of large open bits though, where there's not a lot going on, and it's just a big tree in the middle. It's
quite a well. It's not because you've got to go because my assumption is the way that this is made is that they've got the same level made multiple times, which is why each area feels a bit smaller. I wonder, but I don't know. But it's more of a vertical level, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that one.
Rusty Bucket Bay is probably the level I get lost in the most, even though again it's mainly got like a centerpiece of the ship and everything around that you could probably just do a lap and then get things ticked off. But I find myself taking the longest time on this level of everything before it.
Do you think this is one of the first ones that you hit where you just don't really automatically know what everything is?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think this is probably the hardest level in the game as well because of the bullshit with the
that's hard,
poisonous water and that horrible level where
that area inside with the fans turning.
And if you die, then if you fall down, then you've lost all your notes and got to start all over again.
Yeah, I think for me, I get to about halfway through the Haunted Mansion level before I start running out of sort of knowledge about where everything is, and then Rusty Bucket Bay is the first one that I'm like, I just don't remember really.
Yeah,
or at least this time round that I played it.
I mean, I couldn't remember how to save that dolphin. I had to look that up, and it's just go up the chain.
I take it you eventually got when I was watching you and thought you had rage quit, you were trying to get over to the Gruntilda switch.
I did eventually get that, yeah. I just could not make that jump from the top of the crane over there. N64 magazine says the ship's engine room is the hardest section in Banjo, and in our opinion, unnecessarily so.
It's just that it's insta-death, and I can't really think of any other examples. The final boss does it a little bit, but it's just insta-death in a way that the rest of the game isn't. So it just goes from, it's brutally punishing in a way that feels unnecessary, I think is the most succinct way to put it.
Yeah, like reset me in that room. Fair enough, but don't take all my
give
notes
me some
away.
damage.
Yeah,
but
you really want to do that first because if you've collected, I had like 60 odd notes. I had to go back and do all of them again.
This is the level that I was speaking about before, though, that I probably should circle back around to. That it does a good job of telegraphing notes. So like they put the ginger that you can see right at the start, but they don't give you any way to get to it until near the end of until you've like sort of worked out to shoot eggs in the porthole things. And I just think this does a good thing, a good way thing, a good job of showing you different stuff around level. Like I mentioned, the dolphin and stuff like that. You can see a lot of open doors that you can sort of work your way around to, and the glass wall is another one. This is a cool but hard show like give people little clues about what you're going to be doing. But that engine room is is brutal in a way that feels unnecessary.
Yeah, especially because when you've got the 60-second thing afterwards, and you've obviously got to go quicker through a very perilous room that will reset your entire level progress if you fall out.
That's harsh, man.
And then you get out of the room, and your timer is still going, and you've got to remember which direction of the ship to go to get to the jigsaw piece. This is part of the game where I started to use my save states on my N64 emulator quite a lot. None more so than the fucking quiz game at the end. We'll get to that in a minute. Click Clock Wood. I was worried that was going to leave too much of a sour taste in your mouth for you to then come on here and say you had a really lovely time with Banjo, but luckily it didn't.
Nah, I'd had such a good time up to that point, and I knew what I was getting into with this. I knew there was a lot of faffing, and to be honest, the frustration that I started getting from the game was self-imposed more than anything else. So like, I didn't have to go and get all the notes. I didn't, and by that point, I
definitely didn't. I wasn't even getting an achievement for it like you.
Yeah, I had up to that level. I'd been having a lovely old time, and I'd got every note and every jiggy. I didn't need to go and bust my ass to like fiddle about with the seasons to get the rest of them. And actually, I'd talked myself out of it. I think I was chatting to you while I was playing. I was like, I'm not doing it. And then I did my old go back and do it after I'd calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, you just go dark for a bit and then send me a screenshot of having done it. I went, oh, you did it then. Okay, great.
So it's kind of my own fault. I was getting annoyed at that. I think the biggest, I guess we're going to get to it once we've finished talking about Click Clock Wood. Maybe the biggest danger of leaving a bad taste in my mouth was the Furnace Fun section.
Again, without save states, I can see how that would be total bullshit. I know it was total bullshit because I've played it on the N64 hundreds of times. But yeah, what a weird way to end the game.
Especially because I had totally forgotten there was a time limit, and I was like, because I knew fine well that I needed to remember what Gruntilda was telling me, and I was like, I'll just look up, and then I was skimming by, and then I got to the end, and it was running down a timer. I was like, I can't look it up. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, 10 seconds to Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man.
But yeah, Click Clock, it's got the beaver's quite likeable. I like what it does with the seasons. I just don't like having to interact with it. I think it's a problem.
I think it's so clever, but it's just, in practice, it's just a bit monotonous, and just having to like just continually fuck about going back. And if you've not found all the notes in summer and you've gone all the way to the winter bit and you've got like 96 notes, which is what happened to me, and I was just like, oh, I've got to go through every season now and look for notes across this level that takes ages to get to the top, which is another thing I use save states for, because I am not falling down that tree. I'm sorry. If that happens, I'm F4 in it.
It was so upsetting when that would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's probably the only level that I can think of right now off the top of my head where it feels like the game is artificially padded. Like everything else in the game feels like it's got an idea, you complete what it wants you to do, and then it gets out. This is the first time I felt like I was having my experience artificially elongated for no point whatsoever.
I feel like this is the very like closest sort of progenitor Banjo-Tooie level in this game, where the tendrils are there. This one's having you collect fucking caterpillars and acorns, and it's effectively four times as big as every other level because there's four of them. This really felt like this is the first step towards the wrong direction for the way the game was going to go.
Probably right. Yeah. I'd be interested to know about how they designed the levels. Like, was this a collaborative effort? Did someone go off and make different levels? Like, who did this to us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a small enough team that I imagine that probably didn't happen here.
Yeah.
But yeah. This is another one where you shoot eggs at your ass into a hole and a plant grows for some reason.
That's right. And then you've got to come back multiple seasons to water it.
Yeah.
You've got to
and then
interact with it over multiple seasons, yeah.
Yeah. You do it in spring, and then summer you water it, and then autumn it's fully grown, and then winter it's dead. Just
even getting to this level, because I just couldn't ever remember how to get there.
Me neither.
Yeah, and then you get
it's because it's right near the beginning again for the jigsaw. That's what got me. Is the jigsaw puzzle is right by the entrance to Treasure Trove Cove, which is miles from where I am.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Furnace Fun, which we've just touched on, and should never speak of ever again because it is awful. And
it's so weird.
I used my Joker cards. I think I had 2 Jokers by the end, and I just used them both times on the timed boss battle bollocks. So I ain't doing that again.
Good.
Skipped that.
I saved them up and used them all on the insta-death buttons.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to cheat my way through that, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, you were okay.
I don't think I ever actually had to cheat the insta-death ones, though. I normally got those right because they were quite easy questions. It's just the Gruntilda ones I would always need to cheat on because I'm not going to go around and talk to her sister about all that stuff. Just not. That's another thing that I think is just a bit too much. Like, if you actually did that back in the day, which I guess I would have done, although I do have, and for the video watchers, I do have still the official strategy guide from back in the day. I guess you'd have to write it in the notes section of your book. The answers to that. You're not going to take a picture on your camera phone in 98.
You have to write it.
You're going to Google it.
Chances are you don't know that that's coming up. So maybe this is where the 30 hours come from, because you've got to go back and find her again.
Yeah.
And
how do you know when you've got all of them? Does she tell you when you've got her every single thing? I can't remember.
It's a novel idea that in practice is a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Although I do like the visual ones and the music ones. Those are cool.
I also like it because, like, if it comes from an era and it's like the tail end of the era where games just don't care. So like some of those pictures, that's when you look at, I was like, oh my god, what is that? Whereas like now it would be really obvious in 2023.
Was it the basket for the snake guy?
Oh, there was one note. It was like a. It was maybe the bog area, the marsh area, and it was like super zoomed in on a grate or something like that. The only ones that were obvious was Gobi, because everything was yellow all of a sudden.
Yeah, maybe you and I went a different way. I tried to figure out the ways that had the fewest of those timed boss battle bits because I just wanted to get through it.
I was so disappointed when you go into the timed boss battle and you see that fucking crocodile pop out.
Yeah, like, that's the only one I did. I was like, I'm not running this risk again.
And that's even the harder versions as well.
Yeah.
Because he goes. Is that the first one you used the Wizzy boots on?
Yes.
And then there's they stick you in the honeycomb area from Click Clock Wood and you're on a time limit and stuff like that. So it's more difficult. It's like hyped up versions of each boss you got to fight.
Yeah, that's why I skipped as many as I possibly could.
And to add brutality to brutality for brutality's sake, the damage you take on boss fights carries back into the...
No!
Yeah.
That's bollocks.
That's harsh.
That is so harsh, considering you lose life for everything that you get every time you get something wrong. Yeah, what a fuck you at the end of that game that is. Because the final boss fight is really epic. Like,
yeah, well, this is the thing.
Very layered, but hard.
I think I said this to you in a text. There's a good chance this is the first time I'd ever done that. Because when you finish the quiz, it boots you back out, gives you credits, and boots you back out to the main menu. So I was obviously just going, yeah, I've done it now. See ya.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Because when I played it, I remember.
Maybe it doesn't give you credits. It definitely boots you back out to the menu.
It does give you credits, and then Tooty basically, they're all like chilling out, and Tooty's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, and then
Gruntilda got away. Fuck off.
And then it reloads back up to like the main menu where you're safe.
Oh, I don't remember it doing that. I remember it just making me go back to the start of the Gruntilda's lair, and I had to run all the way back. Well, cauldron my way back up.
Yeah, totally got me. And I wonder if that's why it kept throwing me. Because I've obviously got to the end and thought I've just, it's finished now. And then wandered off to another game.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I really, it's really challenging.
It is. The bit at the end where you're with the big Jinjo, you're trying to stick eggs in the hole and the big one in the middle, that killed me.
Yeah, that, I think when I was a kid, I think it took me a very, very long time, like months to do this, because you get so far through it, and then if I mean, I would have died here if I didn't again abuse save states just for the sake of getting to the end. I assume you had the red health, so you had double.
I did, yeah.
Stuff, yeah. But even that is fucking like it's not a lot because her fireball aiming is ridiculous. I did find a way at the end to kind of run left and right quickly in between throws so that she would then definitely miss me every time. And you had to wait till she shot that homing thing at you, hit it with a gold feather to get rid of it. Then there would be like a pause for you to fire the eggs in that last statue. But before that, I was getting really greedy.
I brute force. I think that's how I died. And then at the end, I just brute forced it because I had so much health, I could just take the damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it ratchets up as well because that, I'd say the first couple phases of her are fairly easy. And then she just gets
out of the way of her on the
harder.
broom.
Yeah.
And then shoot eggs at her, which again I found quite difficult because I would be too greedy there and she'd be throwing the fire at me while I was trying to shoot eggs.
I jumped off the map a couple of times.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
because there was something you could do. It was like the speed of me trying to jump, pull the trigger, and then shoot. I was doing something else that was making him just go off the end.
Yeah, because he kind of slides when you do the ducking thing, doesn't he? So you're probably jumping and then trying to quickly get eggs out, but you just skidded off the side. I did that as well. I like the flying bit where you've got to chase around and smash her up the arsehole. I did a really good long shot there that I wish I could have showed you. But that's a really tough boss, and in keeping with Rare, to be fair, because Whizpig in Diddy Kong Racing is a bastard as well.
Yeah, forgot about that lad.
Yeah.
Although I'm wondering if I had more trouble with the ice level on Diddy Kong Racing. I think I maybe did.
No, not the ice level. Surely it must have been the bloody octopus.
Yeah, was that it? Was that the one we were watching? Oh, maybe I just had a tough time with all those bosses.
That lad came back when I was doing a banjo stream and said, "Good luck, Alex. Have a good stream." What a lovely bloke.
Yeah,
I forget his name now, but he's a legend.
I love it when there's a couple of times you sort of in doing this, you stumble across really nice guys. It's one of my favorite things about doing these podcasts.
Yeah,
is just start stumbling into people.
Yeah, and then do a Gears podcast with them. Do you want to do the music tier list?
Yes, we've got to do it.
Go to bed.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll do mine on my end anyway, just for so I know I can follow along with myself. Yep. Oh, that's it starts off quite simple, but it definitely breaks into something more substantial after that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a solid B tier.
B. Where's Spider Mountain? B.
Yeah, it should be in order, but if for some reason it dicks it about.
I am in full agreement here. It's it's good and it's what's the word? Iconic, but it's not my favourite that we're going to be having.
Yeah. It develops quite well. The songs have quite a lot to them. They're like the loop in these songs is way longer than in Diddy Kong Racing, for example. We are on to Mumbo's Mountain. Another thing, actually, this apparently is one of the first games to feature something called vertical remixing, which is where various sound layers fade in and out depending on your location. And I think the way that the soundtrack of this game is dynamic in terms of it changes when you go in the water or certain.
That's one of my favourite things.
Fucking brilliant. Well done, Grant. Well done, mate.
It's a proper song as well. What was the game we did this to before?
That was Diddy Kong, yeah, where the loop was 20-30 seconds, whereas these ones go on for well over a minute. It's changed again.
Yeah.
I still think
it's one of my favourite things about this game is the way the sound sort of changes. Whether it's this song, this is quite different from the beginning, but it's all sort of flows together. And also, like you were saying, when you go around the overworld, depending where you are, it changes depending on where you are in the world. Like it goes a bit sort of Egyptian when you get to Gobi's Valley and stuff like that.
Yeah. But even within the levels, like there'll be various versions of every single one, won't there?
Yeah, that's magic.
Yeah, but I don't think this is as good as Spiral Mountain. I think Mumbo's Mountain's theme is actually a little bit. It's you can hum it nicely, but it's a bit. Yeah, it's not as memorable. I'm going to say it's C for me.
Again, I'm not just copying you, but I agree with you as well. It's a C. It actually made me think maybe I should make Spiral Mountain an A and make it a B, but no, I'm going to leave that as is at the moment.
This is all relative, by the way, people listening. This is not a C tier in the grand scheme of every song ever made in any game. This is just within the world of Banjo.
Treasure Trove Cove next.
Yeah, this is a strong one.
I kind of want to hear how the Switch has remixed this.
Yeah, go on. Let's see if it's any different. It's just Smash Bros. That's what it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Here's the aquatic version. Sorry, right, okay. For the purposes of listening.
I think it definitely sort of kicks in later on and it becomes a lot better. Well, this bit for a start. Yeah.
Oh, this is great, isn't it? Inside Nipper's Shell. What are you doing with that, Alex?
A. Very, very beachy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice summery track. I like it a lot.
I'm also going A as well. I hope I'm not going to agree with you the whole time, because then that's going to look very silly on my part. Rusty Bucket Bay.
No, Clanker's Cavern's next.
Oh, thank you. Snacker Attack. What does he sound like? Oh yeah.
Fake Jaws.
Oh, I like the start of this one. The thing I like about this, I may change my mind on the quality of the song and ratchet up, but it's less the song in that, like, if I close my eyes, this sounds like the level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. It's sort of attachment to the way that the level looks and feels. It's one of the most spot on of the whole
it feels
game.
like, I don't know, what's the word? Grungy's not the right word, but it feels sort of, yeah.
It's almost like slow and dawdling, because it's just like a big lump in a lake.
Change, really. And then it's got the. I think actually I might like the aquatic version better.
I think I'm going to go A again.
A?
Yeah.
We are going to diverge. I'm going to slap it in B.
Okay.
I think it's as good as Spiral Mountain. Yeah, I feel happy with that. It's nearly an A though. Now we're on
Bubble Gloop.
Bubble Gloop.
I can't picture it in my head yet either. Full start.
Yeah, this is a really bad start. This is the worst one. Oh, it is quite good though.
Somehow making frogs part of the rhythm section.
I'm annoyed that this level's got a great song. you doing with that, Alex?
I'm putting that as a B. I can't put that above Spiral Mountain.
See, for me, I'm struggling. So I'd say there's like a period in that song where it is excellent, but the start and the end is quite weak. Does that make?
Yeah.
So the mid part of the song is really strong.
Yeah, the mid part's the best bit.
So if I think I'm going to give it a B. I think middle's an A, but I think the start and finish are like a C or a D. So is a B like a good compromise?
Sounds like it. Well, that's what I think, obviously. Well, you can do some of them in different orders, can't you? I mean, it shouldn't really be a surprise. This is definitely an S for me. Like, I'm not even... There's no debate here. It just makes me want to wrap up someone's present and put a mince pie out for Santa. Oh, there's so many good bits in it as well. Like the bit later on when
the opening is great.
There you go. And all the while it's got like that like sort of bouncy little floaty strings to it. Like, even this.
It's funny that I genuinely think I was saying it's reminding me of other songs. I genuinely think it's just reminding me of being a kid playing this game.
Yeah, totally.
Let's have a quick listen to the other ones.
There's just bells in it. I do like something about the Twinkly song I find quite nice. Mm-hmm. Where's that? Is that coming up?
This one?
Very quaint.
So is this when you're inside the Christmas tree?
No, this is just when you're talking to them. And they're like, oh please, we're going to get... And then they're going to get brutally eaten by fucking dinosaur faces.
Yeah, that's harsh. I like Wazza, he's a good lad. Right, it's going S for you, and it's going to have to go an S for me as well. I really want to disagree with you. I'm trying my best to disagree.
Damnable classic.
It is. Then just bins that.
Yeah. I swing back and forth on this one. Like part of me listens to it thinks, yeah, it's perfect for the level.
It's perfect for the level. I quite like it.
And it goes at a decent pace.
Yeah.
It sounds like a horse is clip-clopping in the back.
It's feeling like it's got the least to offer though.
Agreed.
So far. What's the Nintendo Switch version sound like?
Hello. This is what it should have been all along.
Yeah.
This is wicked. Like
I was actually thinking
out of James Bond.
That's spot on. When this started, I bet you could do like a decent. One of my favorite things you did is when you did is it DuckTales on your guitar?
Oh yeah.
You could do something good with this.
They nailed that. That's perfect. Real tones of B-52's Rock Lobster there as well.
Yeah.
Rock Lobster? It's a C for me. The Switch version doesn't save it from being an also ran.
C for Alex.
Yeah.
I think it's worse than Mumbo's Mountain.
Ooh.
I think it's
okay.
going to go D. For me.
I don't think I'm putting anything in a D. You know.
I'm trying to use the
use the
scale.
whole range.
Yeah, use the range. I think it's maybe the worst. I mean, like, I don't hate the song. It's a good song. It's the simplest, I think, of the lot. And I noticed within 30 seconds we were sort of recycling stuff, which I hadn't noticed in the other ones. Next up, we have Mad Mansion.
Monster Mansion.
Oh, there's a Switch version to this as well. Are these all levels from Smash Brothers?
No, it must be just for the banjo level. For the soundtrack, they just put every single song that you can like cycle, which is classic Smash Bros. Fan service galore. Oh.
I was really hoping I was going to love this.
Yeah. Does it get better at any point? If I remember rightly, there's a bit where it sort of speeds up that I actually find quite annoying.
The problem is I've put Mumbo's Mountain to C, and I like Mumbo's Mountain. I've made a horrible
Yeah, this bit, I don't like this bit.
Let's have a quick listen to the Switch version. Oh my god. That is epic in a way I was not expecting. Oh my god.
They make everything way better. This is ridiculous.
Did I let you hear? Did you hear the first one we did? So this one. This one was. I think that's right. That's awesome. They're all good.
Wow, they really are.
Here's Spiral Mountain. Like I'm off to the new world here. Like.
Yeah.
There must be a playlist.
Wow, underrated brilliance in the Smash Bros soundtrack.
There must be a playlist on Spotify, I bet you, that I could get the Smash Bros soundtrack and sit and listen to that at work tomorrow.
Yeah. I've just decided to completely tear up my own rulebook. That's going D for me.
Oh, yeah. It's going D for me as well.
Again, it's not a bad spooky song, but how good's a spooky song, really? It's effective, but it's not fun to listen to.
No, exactly. Totally agree with you. Rusty Bucket time. I
think this is a strong one, yeah.
Also, the boat's called Rusty Bucket. Imagine calling a new boat Rusty Bucket. I don't know if it's called
Who's this guy?
I think this starts stronger than it. Oh no, I do like this bit though.
How does he make such? Maybe it's just because we've been in the levels, but his music is so evocative of a visual.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's not quite an A. I think I have to go A for that. There's no Switch version of that.
No.
Oh man.
You went A.
Yeah.
How's mine looking? I'm gonna go B. My B's getting too big though.
That's because it used to be a bear. No, not. It's
That's the wrong one.
Yeah, none of the lobby stuff. That's just like the main.
Lobby, spring.
That's a great melody. I think this is potentially the best version of it out of all the seasons, in my opinion. It's so bouncy and happy.
This is great. This is really good. Right, so we've got spring. There should be summer about somewhere, is there? Or is it just winter? Clickwood spring. Clickwood spring. Super. Nabbit. That's someone's house somewhere.
Yeah, it's the fucking fat little squirrel. Eats all of his acorns and then makes you get them for it.
There's somewhere. Here we go.
This one's probably the weakest in my opinion.
Yeah, well, certainly weaker than spring.
I do like how that little bit there sounds like a flock of bees though. Like, I mean, I can imagine
Sort of reminds me of
bouncing through a wheat field of gay abandon.
That's
like,
exactly what I was thinking of, like a big
Theresa May.
Yeah,
Theresa May?
yeah, to be fair.
That's what was playing through her head when the farmer was chasing her. that and the, just dreams of future ruling the country. Hit me with autumn.
That's underwater.
I mean, this version's alright. I think it's basically spring and winter are the two winners.
Here we go.
He loves a frog noise, doesn't he?
He does. He's so good at doing winter songs.
Yeah. Because this one I think kicks in at some point and then it feels properly like Freeze Easy Light. Skip through it a bit, I swear it picks up. Oh, a little bit of a clicker.
It's a proper song. I think that's
Low,
blows my mind.
yeah, lower key than Freeze Easy. For the whole, the four of them as a whole, and especially the spring and winter ones, I'm going to go S.
S.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, I absolutely loved Click Clock. Well, that was my jam. Would you put it A?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an A for me.
There we go.
Start strong. Let's have a quick listen to...
You know what, actually, the final... This is actually pretty good.
It's a great for like a game show.
Yeah. It's just a nice variation on the main theme. And again, the final battle as well is another take on.
So it is.
But this has got so many layers to it.
A big surprise. That's it. Just
Yeah.
get that out of my head.
That is definitely what. And there we go, everybody. That's our tier lists.
Yeah, we'll have a quick run
you
through for
enjoyed
those
that.
that are listening. Alex has got Freeze Easy Peak and Click Clock Wood in S tier. Treasure Trove Cove, Clanker's Cabin and Rusty Bucket Bay in A tier. Spiral Mountain, Bubblegook Swamp in B. Mumbles Mountain and Gobi Valley in C. And Mad Monster Mansion in D. I'm
I
rough.
feel harsh on Spiral Mountain there, but there we go.
Yeah, I think I went too low too early.
Me too.
Spiral Mountain's great. My only S tier is Freeze Easy Peak. I've gone hard there, and I've got 2 Ds. You slapped Gobi Valley and C, where it made its way up down to D for me, but are largely the same. And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
What a game, Alex.
What a lovely time we've had, and we're hopefully going to have another lovely time next time around.
Yes. Do you want to, right, so I actually need some... We're about to go and play Super Mario All-Stars next.
Yes.
Do we have to play every game? Because the lost levels may be
a
problem for me. I've watched a Let's Play of Giant Bomb, and it is a full of fuck you. Actually, I was thinking, I was doing a poo today, thinking about lost levels, and I was like, I think this is a great example of how not to make a Mario game.
This version of it is far more forgiving.
Okay,
than
we'll give it a go.
The original Mario 2 on the NES.
Okay.
And you and I are definitely going to do this because we've got a few weeks now before that. That's sort of mid-July. We're going to have another draft before that with KDB next week. We've got to do it the way we do all these games, taking it in turns, and hopefully my internet allows that to happen.
Yeah. You seem to have figured out a little bit, though. I've seen a good couple...
That's just OBS being better than whatever's on the Xbox natively.
Okay, well, we've got Super Mario All-Stars coming up, which is that 5 games? Is that right? Did I get that right?
4.
What have we got?
Unless you've got the one with Mario World on it like I do.
1, 2, 3.
We've done that.
Oh, yeah, I don't have Mario World on it. Well, I do, because I've got the old emulators, but that's not what we're talking about. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our journey here today. Time to pack up, mosey on home, so that we can get ready for next time, as we've discussed, which is going to be Super Mario All-Stars. I'm interested to discuss we should do a wee ranking of them at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
See which would rank our best to worst Mario All-Stars games.
I could tell you the order of mine right now, but that would be spoiling it.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I'm sure they'll be the exact same order for both of us.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually interested in that because it's always me that's banging on about Super Mario Brothers 2. I always get the name mixed up. I'm not sure in your feeling on that one.
Better than Lost Levels, that's for sure.
Certainly is. If you enjoyed what you heard today, and even if you didn't, please subscribe to us on your podcast feed of choice, and then consider doing us a favour and leaving us a 5-star review. If you prefer to see while you hear, you can also head over to the YouTube channel where you can catch the video version, which is, you will find it if you go on YouTube and search for A Winner's You podcast. Beyond that, we love to hear from you all, so please send any questions or thoughts you've got over to our email address, awinnersyoupod@gmail.com, or you can also keep up to date with the latest goings on here at A Winner's You Towers by following us on Twitter at WinnerIsYouPod, or give either myself or Alex a follow, David Smiley1, and at Super Thrillix, where you can be treated to whatever word vomit comes to our minds at any particular moment. I was going to go and have a look through, see what Spurs chat you've been up to, but you've been quite quiet of late. I guess you're having a break before your inevitable punching yourself in the balls over and over again. Although I did see Bayern Munich have put in a bid for Harry Kane. Have you got feelings on that?
Rejected though, yeah.
It's only 60 million. That he's worth far more than that.
Yeah.
Especially in a Daniel. I mean, like there's a player value, then there's the Premier League player value, and then there's a Premier League player value when you're coming out of a Daniel Levy team. So Bayern Munich have got somewhere to go.
A value that a method of valuing that he does not follow himself by constantly lowballing every team he tries to do business with.
Yeah.
But you do that to us, you can get straight in the bin. Prick.
Alex, have you got any other business, or are we jigging on out of here?
Yeah, let's jiggy on out of it. I didn't realise that people call that dance when you get a jiggy, they call it the jiggy jig, which is great.
No, I didn't know that either. It's new to me.
The little jiggy jig.
Yeah.
Everybody jiggy yourself.
I think does Will Smith's song "Getting Jiggy with It" not come around all along around this era?
He probably would have ended up less of a dickhead if he'd played more Banjo-Kazooie than slapping people.
Yeah. And on that
what
bombshell,
a note to end on. Yeah.
I've put a note to end on exactly. I have been David, he has been Alex, and we have been A Winner Is You. Good night, folks.
A musical note to end on. 100 of them in a level.
How many?
Keep gaming.
800 notes. So,
900.
No, 900.